if I was a lady, if I was awesome, if I'm an amazing follow, super popular, and I can lead also, right? But I walk through the door and Mr. like super sexy, tall, cool guy comes to me. Like, am I gonna say, no, I'm leading? Like, I'm not.
No.
You know, I'm not. Like, you know, let's just say I'm learning how to follow, right? Clarissa, like pro Clarissa comes up to me like, hey Rob, wanna dance? I'm not gonna say no. I'm like, no, I'm following. Like, no. You know? So
all right, we are back and we're gonna talk about an interesting one. It is whether or not men are intimidated by women who lead. And this is it's a tough topic because there's a lot of different nuances in this one. But I guess we're going to start it with the whole being intimidated. I wouldn't necessarily qualify it as being intimidated. Of course, I don't speak for every man or leader in Argentine Tango. I'm just going to speak from my perspective. I think when I see other women leading, I usually think, oh, that's a good thing. You know, they're usually trying to better their dance. They're trying to improve in a certain way. They're trying, usually a lot of those people that are leading, they're trying to find a different side quests in their own tango journey. And so I'm usually up for it.
yeah.
Right?
So you know, I think a lot of it is just a miscommunication, and the unfortunate issue of the marketplace. Generally, when I go dancing and I see a lady wearing flats, I'm going to assume that she's leading, and
Same.
And you know, she could follow in flats too, you know, but there's been times where I've asked them like, hey, do you want to dance? And they're like, oh no, I'm leading this time. I'm like, okay, that's cool,
Yeah,
no
so
problem.
I've gotten that many times.
So here are my options. My options are go and figure out if she's gonna lead or follow, because a lot of times, like, you know, I have to be verbal with them and I can't cabeceo because they're cabeceoing also, you know. And so I had a choice of that, possibly, you know, possibly just get the, hey, I'm not following right now, or go with the other person who I know is following, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna go with that person because I know they're following, and it's a sure shot deal versus this ambiguity of I'm not sure if that bet's gonna pay off.
That's true. I think for me, when I see someone sitting out, I'm seeing them with their flats on. To be fair, I think it's more difficult to dance in flats, even though obviously one of the more challenging things in tango is to dance in heels. I wouldn't know because I've never danced in heels, but just from what people tell me, getting used to dancing with heels obviously seems very difficult. But I think that once you are more of an experienced follower and you get used to dancing in heels, I think there is definitely more of an advantage dancing in heels than dancing in flats when you follow, right? And I've followed myself, and I can tell you that staying on your tiptoes and flats, because I've done it a lot, because obviously all my shoes are flat, I guess, even though it has a small heel. It does wear on you. You don't get a lot of bend, flexibility as much. It's a little bit more sluggish in terms of gripping the floor and these kind of things. It is more difficult.
Yeah, you can't rest on your heels in the pause.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I think a lot of it is just sometimes it's just a miscommunication. But have you danced with lady leads?
I've danced with quite a few lady leads. I won't say that I've danced with a ton, but from my experience dancing with lady leads, it usually goes like this. Either A, this lady lead is a really good follower and has decided to take up leading because they want to learn more of the other side, or they want to teach more, for example. And so usually it's really an excellent follower now trying to learn leading because they want something new, like a new objective. B is the more newer, I guess, tango lady leader that hasn't really doesn't have a lot of experience following, but decided to take up leading to get more dances at the Milonga. And so those are two very different lady leads in my experience.
Well, and coming from a dual role school, like, how did did you notice that people who started with the dual role education, that they led also, or did they primarily followed?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, okay, let's say I went to Oxygen, right?
Yeah.
Let's say I'm a girl who goes to Oxygen,
Yeah.
danced for a year,
Right.
and I learned both roles.
Right.
Do you generally see me leading or following or 50-50 at the Milonga?
You're usually following.
Okay.
Like 95%.
No, I'm just asking because you only gave two examples, and I didn't know where that example fits in. If they,
I mean, let's be honest, most of the time when even with my more experienced friends that are really good at following and I ask like, lead me, they go like, no, I just rather follow. They'd rather follow.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it, like, I've suggested that too with some of my friends, and they'll just be like, well, I don't feel confident right now.
Yeah.
And I get it too, because I'm a heavier guy. It's like, can they move me? Can they,
Sure.
Or they don't have a lot of confidence in my following, which
Sure.
totally understandable too, But the one thing I haven't danced with a lot of lady leads, but I have danced with a few, and there's a few things that I like to point out that makes me like want to revisit them maybe in a year or two, not necessarily like now, like not necessarily next month. And one of the things that kind of makes me avoid lady leads is that that some of them, I think that they're so concentrated on leading that they forget to polish the following skills. And one of the things that I notice, the first thing they go is the quality of their embrace. It doesn't happen to everybody. Like, there are some people who maintain their embrace and it's still amazing. But there are some people, like, I noticed, like, I love their embrace before, and then they start learning to lead, and like their embrace feels like non-existent or shallow or sterile. Like, it doesn't have that same quality of like where I felt connected from my head to my toe with them.
Interesting. Like, what do you mean? It's like more
like
empty? It's empty. An empty
yeah, like
feeling? Like they're not there, or is it that there's too much presence?
No, it's just more like it's more like there's no presence. Like, they're so in their mind with leading, because like I think leading, you should be present with your partner when leading. Or at least I try to be also. But there comes a point where, like, when you first start learning to lead, it's like that whole idea of presence kind of is like pushed aside. It's like a secondary thing, because you're trying to anticipate, you're trying to design, you're trying to do like whatever figure.
Right.
And I think that because it's a total mental shift, and I think that when you have that mental shift, it's hard to shift back. I don't know too many people who could shift back and forward. Like, even when I try following, I'm not a great follower, but I have those issues because I'm primarily a lead, where I have a hard time being just in the moment, like totally free, and I think that because of that, they just started leading, that they lose that quality because they're focused on leading, and their following skills just kind of like, died on the wayside. And like I'll dance with them again, like maybe a year or two later, to see if they regain some of it back. But I get it. It's like that's their journey right now. Sometimes you take 2 steps forward, to take two or 3 steps back to go 3 to 5 steps forward. I totally get it. And like, hey, but in terms of quality, like, no, it's not there for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't imagine in a world where there are people dedicating their time solely to master one option, that somebody else that's going to be split is going to be as equal as that person dedicating all their time to one option.
Yeah,
it's kind of unrealistic.
Yeah, it is. But I guess that's the other thing. It's because I have those options.
Yeah.
So like, do I want to dance with someone who
is half-time or full-time?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, if I didn't have options, like there's more men than ladies, then okay, yeah, then. But the whole thing is like, hey, there's a great follower over there. There's one less follower that I love to dance with in my pool, but I still have people I want to dance with, and it's not like there's a shortage. So, so it's not that I'm purposely saying no, I don't want to dance with this person. It's just more of because of my options and because of how I feel about it now. I'm like, oh well, maybe maybe next year when like they solidify their leading and then they go back to following and leading more, or they have juggled their their mental gymnastics to keep things separate. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, I think I've noticed like a lot of followers, once they began to lead, they do, I don't know, sometimes it's temporary, sometimes longer term, they do kind of lose this sense of being present as a follower, which is like the most prized thing, I think, in the beginning, when you start to learn the follower role, is to be ultimately present, like with every little nuance, every little sensitive thing. And they kind of get into this mode of like, oh, is this what they're trying to do? I think this is this. And so they start questioning and thinking more because of their things to want to lead. And so that definitely, I feel like, hinders their follower presence for sure.
Yeah. And in addition to that, so to me, like, I feel all that being embraced, so there's that quality of the presence that goes totally through me, where like, so that prize connection is gone, and I'm like, that sucks, So yeah, that's the big thing for me. But but there's also like other things. I think there's other reasons why some people will choose not to lead of a lady lead who's currently possibly following.
What is that?
I think the other thing is, so besides the whole presence thing, it's also sometimes there's back leading. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but like I feel like there's some people, it's like they're still leading in the following position.
They need to control things.
Yeah,
and that's the presence thing.
Yeah, but I guess to add more to that, because like there's one thing, there's the presence thing where like, the quality of embrace has gone down, but then there's like the addition of like, oh, now I'm being back-led, or now it's like I'm being questioned about, I'm being questioned about my technique or something. It's kind of like, it's like I'm being scrutinized. It's like, well, can we just enjoy the moment,
Yeah, it's almost like they start guessing, right? Like, oh, it's this. Yeah, and so like whenever you start guessing as a follower, that's kind of like, that's the antithesis of being present.
Yeah. But I guess I'm harping about the symptoms, I guess you can say. Where like the first symptom is the quality of embrace kind of like goes away, and then it's the anticipation of what I'm trying to do. Like it's both an anticipation and a hesitation. Like I feel like it's like they're trying to go through their glossary of figures of like, what's Rob trying to do?
Yeah.
And then if they can't figure it out, they're gonna throw in an embellishment and then move on. And I'm just like, oh. So it's like, that's like a double red flag whammy for me.
I see.
Yeah.
I think so back to the whole intimidation thing. I just don't, I wouldn't call it intimidation. I kind of like don't like this sense of, you see, like, I can do it, like, why, how come you guys aren't better kind of attitude. And I just don't like that attitude, because what will happen is that most of the times when I see lady leads, especially at like bigger events like marathons and stuff, usually they are dancing with a really good follower, like really good follower.
Yep.
And so they're like, yeah, how come you guys can't do these things? Like, how come it's so difficult for all these leaders and leads out there? And it's because you're dancing with some of the premier, advanced, experienced followers. Of course, things are going to be easier. You didn't start with like you have
the person hanging on your neck.
Yeah, exactly. All of those things.
Yeah, like I'd like to see someone like lead a potato sack.
Yeah.
But
and they're bringing in their experience that they learned as a follower, so they know, so they have some experience going into their leading process.
Yeah.
Whereas most leaders, I would say, have zero experience.
Yeah.
Right. So we're starting from scratch, and you have a head start. And you're gonna look down on your like high horse on us.
Oh,
like,
I get it because it's like I'm a 1 year leader, but I'm a 20-year dancer, but I'm a 1 year leader.
Yeah.
Why can't these like 5 year leaders who only been dancing for 5 years do what I can do?
Yeah, how come they keep dancing the same moves and the same patterns and
yeah,
that's really frustrating.
yeah. So like, let's put it on the flip side. Do you ever follow lady leads?
Do I ever follow lady leads? Yes, yeah.
Okay, what do you think of that? I mean,
it varies. I've danced with some amazing lady leads that are also amazing followers as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely out there. It's definitely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, I've done it a few times, but a lot of it is just like I always throw the caveat. I'm not the best follower, but like if you're practicing, you're practica, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And like because I always want to I want to encourage them too because it's not. I don't really care if it's a guy or a girl. Like I want to encourage people who lead because it's not easy. You know, I suffered it a long time. You know, and it's frustrating, discouraging, and you know, if you want to go down that path, I fully support whoever goes down that path. You know, but one of the things that's always kind of funny to me is. You know, the same ladies who will say, oh, I just want a simple walk and just a nice quality, right? And then I'm following them and they're like, oh, Ocho, Parado, yeah, you know, like Sagata.
The whole lexicon, yeah.
And and it's funny because like I've stopped a few of them. I'm like, you know, it's kind of funny that like, you know, you always talk about, oh, I just wish someone would just dance a simple walk and it's just it's so nice. And here you are like, you know, throwing the kitchen sink at me, you know?
Yeah.
So like that's like again, but I think that's natural.
It's natural. We talked about this earlier. It's a figure state.
Yeah.
Everyone has to go through that figure sequence. Got to learn the vocadas, colgada phase.
Yeah. But I always think it's kind of funny because like I always like to point that out. Where it's like, you know, you did say.
I don't need all the fancy moves. I just need a nice embrace.
You know, like maybe I should just say that. You know, like instead of like just point out the. You know, you do say this. Maybe I should just go. You know, I don't need all the fancy moves. You know, I just want a nice embrace. Yeah, but again, it's like as they get better in leading, and then like their repertoire of dancing improves holistically. Like I think when you switch roles, it's for the better for everybody. Mm-hmm. But it is a sacrifice because it is like 2 steps back to go 3 steps forward. True. You know, and I think that's one of the things that I want to emphasize because it's a hard endeavor and it's a noble one, but also at the same time, it's like do realize that it is 2 steps back to go 3 steps forward, and that's part of the process. So I don't think it's much of an intimidation thing. I think that people feel things differently, and I would definitely love to have these kind of conversations at a practica, but you know, most people don't ask me these questions. Right. And I don't want to go out and have like, you know, just be like, oh, I don't like your embrace anymore. That's just like such being a jerk. What happened
to your embrace?
Yeah, like I'm not that much of a jerk, you know. Like I mean, I'm a jerk sometimes, but not that much, you know.
But you know what no one talks about is no one brings up, and this is strictly due to experience. Some of the worst navigators are the lady leads. No one brings that up. Like, and I get it, right? Because you don't have a lot of experience navigating in crowded areas, but I have danced in marathons, festivals, milongas, practicas, and I have seen some of the most atrocious navigating skills. They're just everywhere, walking backwards, taking all this space.
But you know what I think it is? I think a lot of it is because it's a height thing. I mean, because like many times when I see ladies lead, they're leading someone much taller than them.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, like I mean, it's very rare. There are some, but like generally when I see ladies who do lead, they're leading someone who's taller than them. So so that in itself is a more difficult skill.
Well, welcome to my world.
Well, I don't. Sorry, you know, I was gifted with height. You know, what can I say? but I do acknowledge that it is a difficult skill.
Yeah.
Because you can't just walk. You don't have the luxury just to walk forward because the whole body is blocking your view.
Yeah, that's why you gotta play the angle game.
Yeah, and I think that's a harder skill, and I think that's a lot of people don't talk about, is that it's not just leading; it's leading with adversity, and then in addition to that, some of these ladies lead in high heels, so you don't have all that traction.
That's true.
So it's as I feel for you ladies, because I mean I want you guys to lead, and it's great, but at the same time it's like you're playing with half a deck of cards. It's like the odds are against you. And as much as I'm supportive, I'm also like, I want to have fun too. So, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. It's like sometimes I don't feel like because sometimes when I lead a lady lead who just started leading, like everything just feels sterile. Like it doesn't. There's no the personality's gone, and it might take time. And again, it's like I said, 2 steps back to go 3 steps forward.
Yeah.
Even when guys learn new stuff, sometimes even when I learn new stuff, I have to take 2 steps back to go 3 steps forward. But I think the difference is that if they, with a lot of people who are dual role, like their efforts are split sometimes, and where I could probably get through that faster because I'm just committed to leading.
What I will say, the big advantage though that I see lady leads have is that they definitely have more of a self-awareness of how to change their own weight as a lead. Yes.
Yeah.
So their ability to change weight, I don't know if it has to do with the mass thing, like because there's
less mass.
No, yeah, because they have less mass usually than the person there. Like when you see like a lady lead like trying to like lead a man trying to follow, right?
Yep.
You have to really have like the ability to change your weight to like you can't like just overpower like this bigger person that has more mass than you.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to use the technique of changing your weight from the ground. And I feel like a lot of lady leads have that.
Yeah.
Way down pat earlier than.
Well, I totally agree with you there, because like one of the things we say in martial arts is that the bigger the physical difference, the better the technique has to be.
Sure.
So it's like, if a lady leads really well, like her technique's got to be spot on, because she's the odds are against her because of like mass and size and everything like that. So again, it's I give a lot of credit for these ladies for going down that path. It's very noble.
I will say also that I was just actually in the Ann Arbor Marathon, and I saw a lot of lady leads there, and it was nice seeing it, because it's at one hand it takes a little bit of more of the pressure off the gender disparity, even though it's like a supposedly a balanced event, but at the same time it also increases it. Somehow takes it away and increases it at the same time. It's weird, right? Because it is a role balanced event, but then there's more women because more women signed up as lady leads, and so I see more women, but I know that some of them lead and some of them. So it's weird. Like they are addressing some of the dancing inequality, but at the same time creating more visually. It's weird.
Well, I get it there too, because like let's just say, if I'm awesome enough, if I was a lady, if I was awesome, if I'm an amazing follow, super popular, and I can lead also, right? But I walk through the door and Mr. like super sexy, tall, cool guy comes to me. Like, am I gonna say, no, I'm leading? Like, I'm not. No. I'm not. Like, let's just say I'm learning how to follow, right? Clarissa, like pro Clarissa comes up to me like, hey Rob, wanna dance? I'm not gonna say no. I'm like, no, I'm following. Like, no. So it's like that's the thing. It's like we become generally creatures of opportunity.
Sure.
And when opportunity presents itself, we'll take it. And I think that's where some of the disparity comes in, because opportunity presented itself and people took it.
And I think it's also confusing, because I know like a lot of my like follower friends that only follow, they are kind of confused. They don't know like, oh, is this, is she leading? Like, is she trying to capoceo me? And that's like very confusing for them, because they don't know that, oh, she is a lady lead and they're asking me to dance. Because it's kind of more of it's not as common.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've pretty much covered this topic.
But yeah, if you have any other issues you want to address in terms of lady leads, we'd be all welcome to hear your perspective in the comments section.
Yeah, and that's another thing, like, not just here, but if ladies really want perspective from guys, like, there are guys that you trust. Go talk to them in the practica. Just say, hey, what do you think? Because, like, sometimes, like, going back to the whole intimidation thing.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of, like, guessing and assumptions, and I don't think, I think when you have friends that you can trust, that you have a really clear dialogue with and you can be openly honest, like, go down and ask them. And it's okay. There's like, I liked you before. I liked you dancing before. I mean, I've had people tell me that, and I'm trying something new. It's like, okay, well, then you make a choice. Do you soldier on or do you go back?
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times it's like this assumption doesn't do anyone any good, and it's not bad to just talk to people that you trust and say, what do you think? That's what practicals are there for. You get feedback.
Yeah, but some people don't want to hear the cold, hard, bitter truth, right?
I guess that's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here. Yeah, thank y'all so much for tuning in to our latest episode of Left Foot, Right Foot. Thank y'all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching the latest episode of Left Foot, Right Foot. It's been amazing to see all of the support we've received since starting this channel.
I know, like, we've been going around and people have come up to us and saying, we enjoy your episodes, we listen to it all the time. It's been a great experience, and I love hearing all of you enjoying what we have to say.
Yes, and thank you so much. We're already at 300 plus subscribers, and keep on counting. We'll keep making the same video, or we'll keep making videos, and they'll keep coming. Thank you all so much for the support.